People ask me what I do. They think I sell homes. They think I invest in notes. They think I run a fund. They see the result. They rarely see the decade. Before the notes. Before the investors. Before the podcasts. There was just a kid trying to figure out how the world worked. But the numbers were never the story. Everything changed when I realized wealth moves through relationships, not transactions, relationships. No trust fund. No roadmap. No institutional capital. Just a belief there had to be a better way. People see 400 transactions. They don't see the transactions that never happened. One family gets housing. One investor gets income. One seller gets a solution. And the cycle continues. People ask what I do. I help people buy homes. I help investors buy payments. We figured out how to buy back time. If you want to learn how to invest in time, visit silvercrestopportunityfund.com. The clock is already running. Look closely.
Welcome back to the Mobile Mailbox Money Mastermind. I'm Alden Guajardo, Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Win Mobile Homes, President to Silvercrest Opportunity Fund, our Reg D 506C accredited investor fund, providing bank quality returns in a time when it's needed most, backed by stability and affordable housing. If you find yourself accredited, you could make a 10% return for a 1-year term paid monthly or 12% for a 3-year term paid quarterly, pending accreditation. Got my cohorts here today. You know, we do this weekly in the want for transparency, trust, and ultimately to show you a back office view of what we do on a day-to-day basis. Let's start with Sean today. Sean, if you could just introduce yourself, let us know a little bit about you.
Yeah, hey, this is Sean Gibson with Win Mobile Homes and Mobile Mailbox Money. I'm actually an investor. I was one of the first investors with Mobile Mailbox Money. But I'm going to kind of go on a tangent here real quick. So I've been helping Alden and James buy manufactured homes, and we just contracted one here recently. So I bought and sold a lot of homes in my time, and working with Alden with this mobile home, and looked at it, thought it was great. We got him to sell her down, and we went to the backyard, and it was just dirt. I didn't think anything of it. So come to find out, actually, that has to be rotten paved. And I was like, Alden's like, you know what? That's going to cost $2,000. I didn't even think about that when I was looking at a mobile manufactured home. I thought the house looks great. You get it for the right numbers. But he thought about that before I did. And I thought I'm a great investor. But that just goes to show you how smart and how thoughtful and intelligent these guys are to actually think about those small things that you would never even think about. So I had to go on a little tangent. They definitely look after you, and they actually look at all details of the transaction.
Yeah, you know, putting a bow on it. At the end of the day, you know, how do we package these assets with a bow for an investor to come in off the top and cherry pick these opportunities? Sonny Finkel, if you could just introduce yourself for the viewers that don't know you.
I'm Sonny Finkel, and I am the Investor Relations Specialist for Mobile Mailbox Money and Silvercrest Opportunity Fund. I'm also the Loan Compliance Coordinator for Win Mobile Homes. So I help the agents usher the deals to the sales table, to the closing table, so that we can generate more notes for our investors to purchase. I'm happy to help you figure out what is the best opportunity for you, help you go over some of your due diligence questions, and move forward into the contract phase. Call me anytime.
Sean, what's one commonly asked question we've been getting lately?
Wow. What happens if the homeowner moves out? They stop paying, and they walk out.
And how do you answer that?
I tell them to call. No, you know what? First of all, most of the time, that's rarely really happens because we have a kind of a two-tiered a process. First, they're going to get qualified in the park, no evictions, credit score normally above 600, W-2. We do a two-tiered system where that really happens. So our clients are really qualified. So that really happens. We do everything we possibly can to get them back on track if they're off track. So,
Sonny, how would you answer that question?
More specifically, we have opportunities to offer a borrower an ability to, with an investor's approval, to put a payment on the back end of the note, if possible, to help somebody get back on track. We do have the program available if someone gets into a situation where they can no longer afford their payment, they can sign the property back over to us so that they can avoid an eviction or the repossession. We can work with them to make a clean exit so that we get a clean property and they get to try to salvage their credit a bit. We have a lot of opportunities available for people to make sure that it's a clean, smooth transaction, whether they're coming in or going out.
So they get bells and whistles from a transaction with us, in other words. So that's an at-cost fee, you know, from getting them out of the property, actually going through eviction, you know, going through the repossession, or offering a form of creative restructure, you know, all benchmarks that we provide at cost with our service. You know, we're not just a lender. At the end of the day, we're the largest dealer of manufactured housing in Arizona. We have 15 in rehab, 7 in sales, 5 in management, 2 in our note department, about 10 virtual assistants, 3 attorneys. You know, this is stability in a market at its definition. You know, everyone assumes they understand how money works. You earn it, you save it, you invest it, you wait. That is the framework. That is the system. That is the story most people carry their entire lives without questioning a single word of it. I want to show you something today that is going to make you question all of it, not because the system is wrong, because it is incomplete. And that part that is missing, the part nobody ever shows you, is worth understanding more than everything you've already been taught. Here's what I want to start. Most people think real estate means owning property. They picture a house, a tenant, a mortgage, an asset appreciating slowly over decades while they manage the complications that come with it. That is one version of real estate, but there's another version, one that operates quietly beside it, one that most investors never encounter, one that people who do encounter it tend to never leave. When a family finances a home, any home, a legal document is created, a promissory note, a payment schedule, a contractual obligation, a fixed monthly secured by a first lien position against the property. That document is a financial asset. And here's the part most people may never understand. That asset can be purchased, not the house, not the property, not the door, not the responsibility of ownership, the income stream that transaction created, that the income stream that transaction created. When you acquire that note, you step into the position of the lender. The family continues making their payment exactly as agreed to you, monthly, fixed, and contractual. You hold the collateral, you receive the income, you manage nothing other than a payment stream. Now, here is where the M. Night Shyamalan moment arrives, because what I just described, this thing most people have never heard of. It's not new. It is not alternative. It is not unconventional. It is exactly what banks have been doing with their money for your entire life. Every mortgage you have ever paid, every payment you sent to a lender you never met, every dollar of interest that left your account over 30 years, that was someone else's position you just learned about today. Someone holding that note, collecting the payment, managing nothing while you owned the property and everything that came with it. The bank was never the gatekeeper to wealth. The bank was just the entity that understood this first. and kept it to themselves. In Arizona right now, there is a category of housing where conventional banks have almost entirely withdrawn from the lending market. It's affordable manufactured housing. Families who want to own cannot access traditional financing. Sellers who want to move but cannot find qualified buyers without financing solutions. The gap is significant, and private lenders who step into that gap, who originate seller finance notes, hold first lien positions, and structure above market yields, are doing exactly what the banks do in a market where banks have abandoned. With returns banks can't compete with, on collateral backed by the most reliable payment behavior in residential real estate, because families do not stop paying for the roof over their head. That is not a financial theory. That is human nature. And human nature does not fluctuate with the market. Here's what this looks like in practice. Silvercrest Opportunity Fund sources, originates through Win Mobile Homes, first lien seller finance notes on affordable manufactured homes across Arizona. Each note represents a family in their home, already paying, already performing at the end of the day. Accredited investors step into these positions starting at $50,000 minimum in the fund, or non-accredited by a per note, one investor basis. They receive contractual monthly income above market yield, first lien collateral protection, no tenants, no maintenance, no management, no market dependency, just the payment arriving every month. Mobile mailbox money is where investors learn the full architecture of this strategy before committing a single dollar, how notes are created, how positions are evaluated. The capital cycle works from origination through servicing through income distribution. Education first, capital second, always. Now, let me tell you what the real twist is, and it's not that strategy exits. It's not the bank have been using, it's not what the banks have been using for decades. It is not even that the gap in affordable financing creates the opportunity. The real twist is this. You already understood it. The moment I described becoming the lender instead of the borrower, something registered, because you've been on the borrower side likely for your entire life. You know exactly what the lender receives because you've been sending it to them every month. The only thing that changed today is that you now know which side of the transaction you're allowed to be on. And it was always both. You could be the lender or you could be the borrower and ultimately not have the chance to become the bank. So that's what we do. We teach investors to quite literally become the bank in senior lien positions in the most needed asset class in the nation. That's manufactured housing. So really, this is the family bank and the deal flow market. Let's kind of jump into the meeting here. And we'll talk about a couple positions. So this is lot 347. Let me bring my notes here. Bear with me. So this is the part of the meeting where we talk about our deals, the structure, all the different opportunities that we bring to the table in niche market manufactured home notes. This is in Tempe, a 3-bed, 2-bath, seasoned, performing, interest-only payment at $1,000 a month with an unpaid balance of $100,000. We've talked about this one for the past 2 weeks. So you could go back and kind of view, the different conversations that we've had, but it's a turnkey property. It has been performing for over a year. So it's on an auto renew situation at the lender's discretion. It's on a 1-year interest only payment. The buyer borrower could potentially get a refinance or, sell the property if that lender was really wanting to liquidate that 1-year position. They could force a sale or whatever it may be, or auto rollover. Kind of unique in that accord. That's an interest only payment for a 1-year term, paid monthly at $100,000. Sonny, how many homes have we sold in Chaparral Village? If you know that answer.
A lot. I don't know the exact number, but it's definitely got to be dozens.
So I think we've done more than 20 for sure. That's about $2 million in retail value off Kyrene and Baseline. Just know the chat is open on the Zoom. So that's one of the benefits of actually joining these meetings is you get to ask questions, unless you're actually in the meeting or viewing passively online as we're streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You don't get to ask these questions. These questions cost you money anywhere else in the nation. You go talk to an attorney, they're going to want $5,000. You go talk to an educator, they're going to want their education fee. We do this for free, and the want for transparency and trust. Why? Because people do business with the people they know, like, and trust. And if I can fulfill that today, that's my gold star.
Hey, Alden, question for you.
Let's hear it.
Why do they sell so fast in Chaparral Village? What's the draw there? Because you guys sell those out all the time. When you get one in, it goes right away. Why that park sell so quickly?
So in Tempe,
it's a family park, so it's more vast than the 55 and up parks, and I believe they have lower credit requirements than some of the other parks. So people with the 550 credit score, I think, can get in there.
Okay,
and it's a nice park. They have some good amenities and things like that.
Location, says every real estate agent ever in the world. This is a family park, which opens the availability opposed to limiting the transaction in Tempe. There's ASU here, major availability to get anywhere in the valley. If someone's a Lyft driver, Uber driver, something of that nature, and they accept ITIN, International Tax Identification Number. So as long as it's a 3 or 4 bedroom, in my opinion, it draws a small families component. They got school pickup and drop off in the park, in addition to having great amenities, inside that community. So great package, great home, turnkey property that's been rehabbed. Let's continue down the way here. We are at lot 18. Sonny, I think you processed this transaction. It's currently performing in the Silvercrest portfolio. All the notes that are seasoned in Silvercrest could potentially be purchased at a $2,000 fee flat above UPB because it's seasoned likely around 6 months or more. Sonny, do you remember this transaction?
I do. It was a $57,000 sale. The total note amount was $55,270. The payments are $727.79.
So say, 50.
It's a 2-2 1984 Schultz single wide in a 55 and up park, 896 square feet. What else would you like to know about it?
Performing.
Yes, it closed in April, so it's performing officially.
So that's in a institutionally owned mobile home park here in the Mesa market off Ellsworth and Broadway. Granite counters, new cabinets, resurfaced roof, electricals brought up to code, laminate flooring, paint inside and out. $57,000 this buyer paid. Where can you buy a property like this for $57,000? Maybe 20 years ago or 10 years ago, you could have bought a POS in El Mirage or something of that nature for $50K. But that's not the case anymore. It's a new day and age in housing. So the people that were fit for those types of homes are seeing an elevated rental rate here in the valley of average $2,000 a month. Where do they go for ownership? Right here. They pay $55,000 or $57,000, have a payment of $727, and their lot rent's about $950. So they're paying like $1,700 a month below rent for a 2-2, and they get qualified ownership here in the Mesa market.
Their lot rent is actually only $850, so they're only paying 15 or 17,770 per month. And we even put a wheelchair ramp on this property for these people.
Drop your email in the chat if you want the full collateral file. Sonny, what's a full collateral file look like?
It has before and after pictures. It has the title. It has the borrower's pay stubs, tax returns. It has a copy of their homeowner's insurance policy and their tax bill for their taxes. It has their credit score, and it has the Dodd-Frank compliance certificate if they were approved.
Absolutely. So they're buying a package and a position, right? This house is great. It's good to see, but this is just half the story. The story is in the documents, the process, the origination, the underwriting. You know, in layman's terms, that's your risk mitigation. I didn't just go sit down at Starbucks and sign a napkin at the end of the day. These people went through official processes to facilitate financing at an above market rate for convenience, as well as the lack of financing in manufactured housing. Sonny, how many banks lend on manufactured housing?
3.
And they're not banks. I think they're all individual mortgage entities, you know, 21st Mortgage, Cascade Financial, Teamwork Mortgage. You know, you could probably Barrett Financial. You could probably Google a few others. I've converted with maybe 2 ever, which is really just 21st Mortgage 9 times out of 10. So the common misconception is that these are unfinanceable. That's incorrect. The banks just haven't entered into the ecosystem at the end of the day, which makes more transactions for us. You know, we can charge an above rate because the scarcity of the availability at the end of the day. So again, drop your email in the chat if you'd like this full collateral file. We'd love to send it over. That total acquisition cost is $57,270. Pending update of accurate unpaid balance. So these are all estimated at the end of the day. You know, these are ticking with a per diem. So just know and be aware. Excuse me. So we have Glendale Cascade, lot 41. Sonny, I think you did this one as well.
I did. This was a $99,000 sale with a $5,000 down payment. It's a $94,000 note, and it's paying $1,237.78. The lot rent is $1026, and this closed on June 1st, so it is going to be officially performing in about another 2 weeks.
So that's actually been absorbed into the fund. Once transactions close, they either get absorbed in the fund, sold to another investor, hypothecated, or just held long-term for us. So at the end of the day, you know, time is of the essence. People are trying to figure out how to get pref, you know, how to get first come, first serve transactions. Sonny, how would someone get to the front of the line?
You have to call me because I'm the one who sees what's being processed and how quickly it's going down to being available for the note.
So there's three, four components here. There's construction lending, and the benefit of lending on construction, extending credit on a 75% loan to value after rehab value, right? You get first right of refusal of the note that will inadvertently come available. What does that mean? You lend money based on an after rehab value as a construction loan. And when we sell or finance that home, you come up from the unpaid balance of the construction loan to the unpaid balance after down payment on the seller finance note that comes available. First right of refusal, right? So that Sonny's a great contact to say the least, but that truly gets you to the front of the line at the end of the day. Listen, my objective.
I always say that every single week. I always say that the best position to be in is the construction position, because you're only paying a percentage of what the asset is comped at. You're getting your guaranteed payments because Win is your borrower, and you have that first right of refusal to decide if you want to take that borrower or not. And if you do, great. And if you don't, we can roll you over into another construction note until the next one comes up, and you can decide then. I think that that's the best position to be in my opinion.
Short-term component, we drafted at a 1-year term, double-digit interest-bearing contract, first lien position, and ultimately, gets you to the front of the line. We've raised about $5 million in the past 6 months. So in the near future, these notes will no longer be available. At the end of the day, we're going to be raising larger capital, and ultimately we'll take pref. So my accredited partners will ultimately likely absorb every note I create sometime soon. We're fishing larger capital. I'm looking for warehouse lines of credit. And ultimately, that's how we'll get to $20 to $50 million, in addition to the other diversification plays that we're doing, from co-living, pad split in the Arizona market that we're tracking right now. But that's kind of a left field conversation. That's lot 41. I think I messed up the unpaid balance on this description. So Sonny, thanks for quoting that for me today. Let's keep moving here. This is lot 129, La Montaña del Sur. This first portion is performing seasoned notes, and then we'll get to the ones that we have in escrow here shortly. We rehab this property. These are kind of some during rehab photos, but just kind of, a little bit of intimacy of the rehabs that we're doing. We're not just painting the property 9 times out of 10, going through electrical, plumbing, servicing the roof, even framing in some windows at any given time. So this is a 3-bed, 2-bath in the South Mountain market. This is in Phoenix, La Montaña. Yeah, this is South Mountain. The requests we get for this area are enormous. Highly Hispanic market. So the amount of individuals that reach out is abundant. So the absorption rate in this area, in other words, is fantastic. Let's say hypothetically that the note were to go non-performing, your likelihood of getting a more deserving borrower on top of the underwritten criteria, is that much more because of the area.
The feel good about this is the need for the satisfaction of the affordable housing. I can certainly feel it for this. The borrower is a single mom like I am, and she's got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1998 single wide, and it's only costing her under $2,000 a month. Or right at $2,000 a month. She paid $99,500. She put $3,000 down. The loan amount is $96,500. The payment is $1,200, and the lot rent is $811. So you're looking at just over $2,000 a month for a 3-2. That's unbelievable.
She also had $2,000 in prepaid taxes and insurance. So, ample skin in the game. For someone to come up with $5-10 grand right now is a challenge. So that's just cream of the crop of a renter that's more qualified to not continue renting. So these are the higher qualified renters within our market, that are paying exactly what they would be paying in another rental. Right? So if their options or alternatives for housing out in the market are that much more limited, or even more than what they're paying, that just adds to the stability of the position. I
And
hear,
this is the one, as a reminder, who was so happy with this transaction that she's now one of our agents.
yeah, great to mention. We do hire sales staff. I think we may have 9 or 10 now in sales. I think we had 3 others on our meeting this morning. So growing the team, that could be you too. Let's say hypothetically, you were looking to try and make some extra cash on the side. It's really just a marketing play at the end of the day, posting stuff for sale and getting with one of our agents ultimately to consummate the transaction if you're out of state or whatever it may be. Those are all opportunities at the end of the day. So this home was bought and owned since 2004. So they lived in this property for 22 years. I hear a very common misconception of manufactured housing that people only stay for 3 to 5. That's a 22-year performing asset. 22 years. She definitely financed that at one point. Most people do, but that property was free and clear when we purchased it. Any questions in the chat? I'm going to just slow down here for a minute and give you a moment. We kind of went over a bunch of stuff so far. These are seasoned performing notes, this portion of the meeting, and then we'll get to the ones that are in escrow. Got some hearts and thumbs in the chat. Sonny and Sean did put their information in there as well. Listen, these questions, again, I'm telling you, these questions cost you money. So, take advantage here today. This is for you, putting money in your pocket right now. Okay, let's continue the meeting. This is lot 20. This was one of the most creative deals that I had structured ever. So I bought it seller finance. I put like $5,000 down. I think I bought it for $65,000 at 4% interest, right? My objective was really to try and get him to stay in that position long term, but he wanted his cash out. Long story short, bought it seller financed. We probably put $5-10 into it. Painted the property, put in laminate flooring. That's actually the seller right there. This is the condition that I bought it in. And ultimately negotiated a favorable deal. I paid a little bit more than I would have for cash, but in order for me to feel comfortable with that price, he said he would carry until I resold the property. I sold this house at $120,000, I think it was. It was either 120 or 115. And ultimately, I made $35,000 after commissions, $40,000 with $5,000. Let that sink in real quick. I technically paid like 65. But what kind of capital did I actually outlay in monthly payments? It was maybe around 20 total. Actually 25, maybe 25 to 30,000 I put into it. So I doubled my money. I made 100% profit on this transaction. Let me know if you could do that in residential real estate. The answer is not. Most likely. Those purchase prices are wildly different. You're paying $200,000 to $500,000, making 100% profit over here on an asset that people put their nose up at. There's real deal transactions going on here. So lot 20 currently performing. I wish I had the turnkey photos on here. I don't. But this is the asset. It's off Ellsworth and Broadway in Pueblo Mesa, 8832 East Pueblo Ave, lot 20 Mesa, 85208. This property is performing. I think it's been over a year. Is there a date on here? March 6th, actually, is when I bought it. So it's likely been over a year with this transaction because it sold pretty quick. This is a 3-bed, 2-bath in a family park. And I think it was the year 2014. I could verify that information, no problem. You know, if you have interest in this possession, be happy to send you, again, the full collateral file, the actual concrete information. This is all estimated at $109,000, right? Is the unpaid balance. $109,000.69 is what it says on here. Is a monthly payment of $1,361.66. So if you don't have a mortgage calculator, do yourself a service and go download that real quick for free. Could teach you how to reverse calculate what a return on investment would look like. Typing in the unpaid balance, the term of 20 years, and playing with the interest rate. That's a savvy investor's move to calculate what a return on investment would be. So that's 109.69 for $111,000.69. You buy this performing asset, making $1,361, $1,300 a month with no banks, and you're in senior lien position on a quality, affordable manufactured home. That's lot 20. Lot 69 in Tempe. This was actually an investor's son of mine, an investor of mine's son. Sorry. That's Kyrene and Baseline. Same park as lot 347 that we mentioned at the very beginning of this meeting. It's currently performing. This was a burnout, I believe, that we bought for like $9,000, and we put $80,000 in this unit. We took a long time on this rehab, but the finishes kind of tell the story. So it's a 4-bed, 2-bath off Kyrene and Baseline. This sold for $120,000, I believe. It was like 122.5. That's what it was. It sold at 122.5. They put $20,000 down, and the unpaid balance current is $102,260.89, with a monthly payment for a 20-year term at $1,274.61. Right? So you're making close to $15,000 a year in passive cash flow with one acquisition. No maintenance, management, insurance, taxes. And in 30 days from now, you actually start receiving those monthly payments at pro forma. Super Gem, Family Park 42. Cal-Am Properties is an institution that owns hundreds of mobile home parks around the nation. And I'm in with the number 3 at Cal-Am Properties because we're licensed, bonded, insured, and likely one of the largest operators in niche market manufactured housing in the nation. I kind of self-tout that. I haven't verified, but we do a tremendous amount of transactions. That's just a little video of the home. So your acquisition cost is $104,260.89 today. Drop your email in the chat if you'd like this full collateral file. Let's keep pushing here. Sorry, I got to reorient my screen. Lot 116, this is currently in escrow, pending sale. I think we'll get Dodd-Frank compliance today. Pending transaction, pending. Sonny, give us some details.
$85,000 sale, $15,000 down payment. In addition to closing costs, not including closing costs. The loan amount is $70,000. And just for reference point, since I'm looking at the numbers, if you're curious at all what the taxes and insurance are on some of these properties, the taxes for the year for San Estrella 116 are $201.52, and the homeowner's insurance policy, which covers the buyer borrower as well as the investor. The investor would be listed as the loss payee on the policy. $785.15 is the insurance policy for the year. The payment on 70,000 is $870.46, and the lot rent is $1026. So the payment on 70,000 is $870.46, which is the unpaid balance, and the buyer borrower pays under $2,000
total.
for a 924 square foot 1995 Skyline single wide in San Estrella.
The summary of that transaction, say it were to fulfill the full term, 20 years of that loan, the total interest received is $119,000 in just interest over 20 years. The total payments received is $179,067. You know, you're literally doubling your money by buying this transaction if it were to go to full maturity. You know, say it didn't go to full maturity and you wanted to exit this transaction, you could sell it above par because it's a seasoned performing asset with a return not seen in any other asset class in the nation in first lien position. You know, you can find some seconds that are a little bit, more risky depending on, the ability of that individual investor. But $179,000, orchestrated in a Warren Buffett investment strategy, super gem. This home's
with a buyer borrower with a lot of skin in the game, almost about $20,000 in the game.
So 60,000. I am going to absorb this in the fund, just to let you know, unless you message us now. So I'm going to give you a moment. I'm going to give you one moment to message me right now to buy this transaction, pending due diligence. Obviously, everyone's got to do due diligence at the end of the day. But this is the reason for doing these meetings. Okay, people ask, how can I find these notes? Where do I buy them? You're right here, right now. Could be an opportunity for you. I'm going to give you 3 to 5 seconds, or maybe a little bit longer if I'm feeling it.
And I do the due diligence for you. I'll provide you the due diligence package.
Just give you a second, evaluate, look at your bank account real quick, look in your IRA. What do you got? We're here to do transactions. Just remember, going once, going twice, sold. So that one's going into the fund. Super gem. They're putting close to, 30, 40% down payment in that transaction. Let's keep pushing here. Lot 205. I'm not sure this person's going to get approved, but they are applying to execute the transaction. So I'm going to bring it up. I think they fully applied yesterday. Have to double check with my agent, but let me pull up my notes again here. Lot 205.
They're a little backwards on this one. They've put up their earnest money and they've been submitted to title, but they don't have their park approval yet. So really, we don't, from a processing standpoint, we really don't do a whole lot until they're park approved. Because if they're not park approved, they're not going anywhere.
Why is that?
Because the park wants to be assured that they have upstanding citizens in their communities and not people that have evictions and felony convictions and those types of things that would make them not the best neighbor. And Alden, we do have a question in the chat.
Shoot it.
It says, Alden, how does the rental side of the business work? Are investors purchasing notes only, or are there opportunities involving rental income as well?
So depending on who's asking, would love to maybe throw you some options. We keep that stuff close to the vest and don't market those, but we do have options. I bought a batch of 12 brand new 2-bed, 1-bath units in the Glendale market in Long Haven Estates. You can see those at winmobilehomes.com. Just type in Long Haven Estates. Those properties could be rented, they could be leased, they could be bought to rent, bought to seller finance. I don't know why you'd want to buy it and seller finance it yourself when we kind of do that as a turnkey program, but you could rent it out 100%. I've got multiple performing rentals. If that's of interest to you, please reach out after this meeting. We'd love to show you opportunities. The availability to diversify, is at your hands, at your disposal here today. So don't hesitate to ask those questions. If you're interested in co-living opportunities and you've got a lot more capital than $100,000, I'm currently evaluating a multifamily acquisition that will be a pad split implementation in the South Mountain market. It's 12 duplexes. I'm going to go negotiate at $6.5 million, and I'm bringing $1.5 million to the table to acquire that asset as a 20% down payment and get it to pro forma, and ultimately either exit or hold it long-term as a legacy asset. A little left field, but we're doing a lot of different things. So if you want to just talk, at the end of the day, and ultimately, pick my brain a little bit, I'll put my number in the chat at the end. But that's kind of a little left field of a conversation. Lot 205. This is pending. The unpaid balance is $100,500. The monthly proposed payment is $1,249.74 for a 20-year term. First lien position, pending community approval and Dodd-Frank underwriting. So this I bought direct from the entity, from a relationship I had met a few years ago, the vice president of sales and marketing for Roots Management and Treehouse Group. They were previously. So we're touching the cusp of like $100 million companies, and they're all telling me the same thing. You guys are in the best side of the business, to say the least. To hear that from people that are implementing mobile home park strategies, gets me all rosy and cheery. So this property is in the Glendale market. It's a brand new home, never lived in. 2023, they bought it, sat on it for a year, reduced 2-3 times, and sold the park. So excuse me, sold the park. They had to sell these homes to sell the park. So they sold them at a deep discount. And who did they call? They called the man with the plan to come over and acquire these assets, because they know we're a cash buyer. We're park approved in 9 out of 10 communities here in the Valley. And they know we'll execute. So we bought these at like $44,000. I bought 2 of them, 2 brand new 2023 double wides. They were both 2-bed, 2-bath. This one I turned to a 3-2. I probably should have left it as a 2-2 because it's been sitting for a little bit longer than we would have liked, at its previous price of $125. So we reduced $20,000 to offer some value to a buyer borrower and ultimately get someone that's going to want to call this home. A lot of people have that $5,000 to $7,000 benchmark. When you're approaching that 125, 135, 150,000, our rate becomes a little bit more unaffordable. So for them to put 10K down, at 125, 135, they'd have to either be in a really good area or a brand new house, things of that nature. But we're offering some value here today to this buyer borrower, and they're ecstatic. From what I understand, they're virtually ready to move into the house. So I'm crossing my fingers they get approved, because, I think that's a cry at closing kind of situation for them. And that just kind of shows the impact. Where can you provide a solution to a problem, make an above average return, and quite literally change somebody's life with your capital investment? Those options are very limited outside of a sweat equity play. You actually going out and physically doing all this yourself, because people don't so much put this stuff out there, and we will continue to do so, all for you guys. Let's continue down the road here. Lot 330. Sonny, I think you're handling this transaction.
Mute, unmute.
You're on mute.
There we go. Couldn't get my unmute to work. This is a $99,000 sale with $4,000 down. It is a 2018 Clayton single wide 2-2 with a sunroom in a 55 and up park. It's 1,056 square feet. And the part that you want to know, the most important, the payment. $95,000 note, $1,181.34 is the payment.
Where is this located?
McKellips in Mesa.
So that Northwest Mesa market, kind of major cross streets are really right by the 101 and the 202. If you're unfamiliar with the Arizona market, this isn't Alabama. This isn't Ohio. This isn't Georgia. This is freaking Arizona in Mesa, Tempe, Phoenix, Glendale, some of the most moved to markets in the nation. I heard a fact the other day that Arizona has the highest condensed environment of manufactured housing in the nation. Not only that, also it's 10% of housing. So I think there's like 2-3 million homes in Arizona, single family. That's 250,000 mobile homes here in the Arizona market. We're walking into $100 million play just in my backyard in the Arizona market. So desirable area, quality underwriting, deserving borrower with a bow at the end of the day. This transaction is currently pending. Sonny, what's your feeling on this? Do you think they're going to get approved from what you see?
So it's still in the very beginning stages of processing because they were just approved by the park yesterday. So a lot of the processing hasn't been done, but I have collected their financials and I'm pretty sure that they are going to be Dodd-Frank approved. And there are 2 borrowers.
So 2 borrowers in the house.
Yeah, they're a young engaged couple. This is their first time buying a home and they are super excited.
What's the average age of a first-time home buyer in Arizona?
40.
So these people got a 15-year jump likely on home ownership. That's like game-changing for somebody's life at the end of the day. For them, again, that's a cry at closing equation. The impact with every dollar, every transaction, every door, every freaking rehabber, trying to skip work one day, all of that, the impact that this has in our backyard. I'm in Arizona and I went to high school here, been here close to 15 years, actually 20. I think I've been here close to 20 years here in the Arizona market. I'm true Arizonan here. So to see this impact and not have to leave, my backyard has been truly a blessing to say the least. Pipeline Capital, that's current pending transactions totaling $195,500. Is that right? Here, let's go to this. Performing fund positions. So total performing capital, $611,000, paying $7,600 a month, right? So say you had $500,000, we could help you put that money to work today. Our active pipeline, so the pending transactions, I believe that's what that is $195,000 with monthly payments of $2,400 a month. Total capital represented is $800,006 and $806.87. I think this thing messed up, but $806,000 with $10,000 a month in monthly cash flow. That's a portion of the portfolio, a portion. Okay, Silvercrest has 30 positions. We just raised another $500,000 about 2 weeks ago. I could put $50,000 to $1 million to work in 30 days, and you receive your contractually agreed upon return. Where can you get that in the nation? The answer is you can't. I talked to all of my investors, and the likelihood of them finding diversification across 10 different assets for $1 million and receive a pro forma return in 30 days, I'm interested to see another opportunity like that, because I may, raise some more money to do that at the end of the day. So, we went over lot 18, lot 41, lot 129, lot 20, lot 69, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different seasoned note positions. Today we have 26 people. We just broke another record. I think last week was 25. So, we're growing. My want one day is to get to 100 live viewers. So, that's just one step closer to financial freedom. We call that mobile mailbox money. So if you haven't had the chance, check out my books on Amazon. Just Google my name, Alden Guajardo. All of our homes that are available for rent, for sale, are located at winmobilehomes.com. Say, someone were an end user, they could go to Home Match and actually match specific homes that they qualify for. It's almost like a pre-qualification that they can receive. I implemented this with artificial intelligence, so it draws our 8 years of database and information. In addition, they could get a formal pre-qualification potentially with our seller finance program. There's a mortgage calculator actually on our website, and the investing goes to mobile mailbox money. So that's where you can find a link to my books. Those are like $5 and $10. Again, I don't do this stuff to make money. I do it for more trust and to provide you as much value as possible. Why? Because that attracts wealth. Silvercrest Opportunity Fund. If you are accredited, you could invest today, as I was mentioning, and get to know a little bit more details of our credit strategies. So, 10 to 50 million bucks, depending on what kind of interest we get, could be the benchmark. In addition to that, we'll have an update to our investment strategies tab and ultimately provide a co-living play, likely an equity and debt strategy coming soon. So I have 2 pad splits going up in the Tempe market, a 10-bedroom and a 12-bedroom. The 12-bedroom should go live in the next 2 months. We formed a partnership with Griffin Roofing and Construction, where they're bringing equity to the table and controlling the rehab of the project to get us to a turnkey component. And we're the operations and the capital side. So those are opportunities that we will discuss at a later date, and provide a little bit more detail and back off this view of what that looks like. This is the road to $50 million. So we'll get to 50 million assets under management with our current fund structure as seen at Arizona Real Estate Investors Association. So we are actually the main corporate sponsor. I got to talk to Mike. We should be at the very top because we're the main sponsor at the end of the day. But that's ASREA. We just sat down and talked to Jeff Watson at the Phoenix Real Estate Meetup, second Monday of every month. Jeff Watson is one of the most prolific private lending attorneys in the nation out of Ohio. I met him at Note Expo, Diversified Mortgage Expo, and a few others, and I finally wrangled him into an interview at the Arizona Real Estate Investors Association. So that was pretty cool. Check that out. That's on my blog. So if you just go to YouTube.
We have another question in the chat, a very multi-part question.
Let's hear it. Sounds like a good one.
It says, hello, I am new here, referred by a team. I have questions. Do you have investors who follow this type of scaling strategy? And are there benefits or considerations for repeat note buyers? What are your current requirements regarding minimum investment amounts, funding timelines, due diligence, and note transfers?
Let's tackle one
Maybe
at a
I
time.
should call you soon.
Yeah, let's tackle one at a time. So what was the first question?
Right. The first question is, do you have investors who follow this type of scaling strategy?
So, and we're at 20. Oh no, I thought I saw 28 people on here. Sorry about that. Almost got real excited.
I saw 27 earlier.
So, I get 1,000 views on every mastermind that I do every week. In addition to that, we have about 100 regular investors on our platform. So,
we did talk about this in one of our previous Zooms also, as far as the importance of the creating of the relationships, because I think 90 or 95% of our investors are repeat buyers. So the benefit that you have to continue to be a note buyer is that you continue to make double-digit income on your investment, and that's not so easy to find these days. So the benefit is the continued, benefit of the money that you're making. The other next part of it says, what are your current requirements regarding minimum investment amounts? The minimum investment amounts are only a requirement of the fund. You have to be an accredited investor in order to invest in the fund. And the other requirements as far as other notes are just to be able to have enough money to cover the note. I think the least expensive note I've ever sold was $20,000 or $24,000, but that's kind of rare. They're usually a minimum of around $40,000 to $60,000 on the smaller end and $100,000 to $150,000 on the larger end. So the requirement would just be the being able to wire the funds for the purchase within 48 hours of the contract signing. The due diligence, we do that for you, or you're welcome to do any of your own due diligence on your own. And then as far as transfers, we charge a transaction fee for every note that we sell, and that includes listing the investors on the lien positions on the title transfers. I think that covers all the questions, except for maybe I should call you soon. I would say so.
Not so much a question, just a cold hard fact. So appreciate each and every one of you being here today. Before we go, does anyone have any final questions, comments, need for clarity, a bad joke? Well, that's what we're doing today and to beyond. We appreciate y'all being here today. We do this weekly. Don't hesitate to go back and view the previous vlogs, the podcasts, the masterminds, the interviews with industry magnates like Jeff Watson, Patrick Franz, Desi Arnaz, Kevin Shortell, Mark Monroe, Dan Zatofsky, at Diversified Mortgage Expo with Nathan Turner, JKP Holdings, Dave Putz, the list goes on. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Tim Smith, and this is my wife, Marlis. We sold our place in South Dakota, and it was almost a hurry-up deal. I responded to an ad I saw on Craigslist, and that's what put me in touch with Win Mobile Homes.
They listen, they're concerned. I really like the home that we have. It's comfortable. We have an Arizona rule.
You want something that is virtually painless, and you have someone that stands behind what they sell you. This is the kind of person you'll be dealing with. I couldn't be any happier.
Alden Guajardo here today with Win Mobile Homes. Just want to thank you for viewing this video. If you're at all interested in anything we have to offer, feel free to reach out to me direct at 602-888-2274. So call today.
Congrats to Romeo on his debut on the Mastermind.
So yeah, that's what 400 transactions, $30 million, and the grace of God has to do with today. We appreciate you being here today. See you next time.
Oh, you didn't call the mobile mailbox money like you always do.
Mobile mailbox money.
I'll stay on for a couple of minutes if anybody has any questions while everyone is logging off.
Got a couple live viewers left. We appreciate you being here today. We'll see you next time. Don't hesitate to go back and view the other content. Like, comment, follow, and subscribe, or call for more today at 602-888-CASH.